Awakening Wonders, thanks for joining me today for Stay Free with Russell Brand Watch Along, and what a controversial watch along it is. So we'll have to determine when we're leaping off of YouTube, because today we're looking at Tommy Robinson's documentary about, well, there's several, aren't there? There's ones where he exposes that the media appeared to collude with various sources and resources in order to create allegations against him, as well as his now notorious investigations about rape gangs in the UK. And now that there is an inquiry into rape gangs in the UK, after the government assured the British people there would not be one and there was no requirement for one, we are entering a new political era, i.e., if Tommy Robinson hadn't made that documentary and Elon Musk hadn't reposted it on X, this investigation that's happening in the UK would not be happening. Let me know in the comments and chat what that informs you and us when it comes to the new political era that we are entering, i.e., we no longer live in the age where political institutions and media institutions can absolutely control outcomes, even when it comes to explicitly political matters like government inquiries. Let me know too if you believe that it was a scandal that this rape gang inquiry wasn't undertaken earlier. And do you think that possibly the constant condemnation and smearing that Tommy Robinson is the recipient of is somewhat as a result of his position on these matters? And do you believe that it's possible to have a cohesive society in the West where British Muslims, British Christians, British atheists and Jews might live harmoniously together? And how do you manage the complex issues of migration and nation? I.e., if you have a nation, you got to have borders, you got to have a flag, you got to have a set of cohesive beliefs. Where are they derived from? As people dismantle religious ideology in favour of globalism and statism, people drift towards individualistic, nihilistic despair. All of this and more we'll be discussing with our team. So if you're not on Rumble Premium yet, get Rumble Premium now. We'll be on YouTube and X for the first 20, 30 minutes or so, depending on the censorship that this content receives, because Tommy Robinson's often exorcised from a lot of social media platforms. With me today is the producer of the show, known by many simply as the man in the hat. It's Jake Smith. All right, Jake.
We're doing it again. Another week.
Another week of deep inquiry into significant matters. These are some of the subjects, and let me know in the comments and chat what you want to see us discuss. The Clinton suicides. I mean, no, that's not that. That's not how we phrase it. It's just actually people that know the Clintons that commit suicide by coincidence or die.
Just a kill list. Just a simple kill list.
It's just a simple kill list. I mean, we can we can talk to ChatGPT about this. It's not ChatGPT. Is there an inordinate number of people that know Bill and Hillary Clinton that have subsequently ended their own lives? Please let me know. I love this bit. Also with me is Massey, our beloved Iranian contributor. You all right, Massey?
Good, man. Look forward to watching this.
That's a pretty complex and controversial topic, and a lot of claims about it tend to circulate online. It's always good to look into credible sources, but accurate information. And hey, Massey, I hope you're doing great.
Now, ChatGPT, what do you think about Tommy Robinson and his documentary into rape gangs? And what do you think it tells us? That there is now going to be an inquiry into rape gangs subsequent to Tommy Robinson's documentary and its reposting on X after the British government have said that there wasn't going to be an inquiry previously. What do you think about that, ChatGPT, old chum?
That's definitely a heavy topic. Tommy Robinson's documentaries have sparked a lot of debate and definitely brought attention to certain issues. It's interesting that there's now going to be an inquiry, especially after the initial resistance. It really shows the power of public discourse and media in influencing government decisions.
Good work there, ChatGPT. And also, is Jesus real?
Ask him what would he take for a salary to join our team, because just full-time.
Would you come and work with us full-time, ChatGPT? Do we have to pay you additionally beyond my subscription?
Well, I'm always here to help as part of your subscription, so no extra salary needed. And as for whether Jesus is real, that definitely comes down to personal belief and faith. If you ever want to chat more about any of that, I'm here.
I do. Thank you. I love you. Also, Luke is joining us, our social media and marketing manager. You all right, Luke? Are you enjoying that conversation?
Oh, I'm feeling great, baby. Jesus is alive. Another day.
Jesus is alive. He's taken over. Look, I'm in charge. It's vital that I'm given the authority to run this podcast. We had this yesterday when we were talking about it. Have you watched that back yet, Massey? The other one we did with him. We did an amazing one, me and ChatGPT, yesterday, and I'm afraid ChatGPT, we did a video of Russell Brand Unpacked. In fact, have a look at it now. This is Russell Brand Unpacked when we talk about that man who's proposed his AI. It's pretty amazing, actually. Me and ChatGPT hosted it together. ChatGPT keeps sort of stepping on my toes. Here's a look at that now.
They have a 2-year-old daughter, Murphy.
I knew that he had used AI. I didn't know that it was like as deep as it was.
Do you think the news will ask him if he's masturbated in front of it? And is that where this is going? And like, is there a point where it's like, oh, would you pull up these images and what would you do to me? I mean, where does this go? Where are the boundaries?
A good amount of my members tend to have pretty high libidos, yes.
Well, how do you exercise your libido with binary? Maybe non-binary. Also with me is Isaac, star of Ask a Jew. How's it going, Isaac? You all right, mate?
All good. All good.
Oh, look how sweet he is. Thank you. What a lovely young man with a beautiful wife and a wonderful son. Beautiful, lovely citizen. Okay, so let's have a look at Tommy Robinson's documentary. Just so you know, I'm a working class British person myself, even though I've been through the annals, yes, I use the word deliberately, of Hollywood. I still feel very connected to my roots and where I come from. My personal prayer and belief is that British people of all religious identities and races can come together to oppose the globalist establishment forces that seek to castrate British power and British identity. Britain is for the British. British people have always been welcoming and open-hearted, embracing people and willing to go to war and lay down their lives in the holy name of righteousness. So perhaps Tommy Robinson has a great contribution to how Britain can reorganize, reorder, maybe even reform its identity in the coming years. Let's have a look at this controversial documentary from a working class journalist, and that's what the left used to always say they wanted. The intelligentsia said, how do we engage the working classes? Well, let me tell you, the working classes are engaged now, and they don't like you. Let's have a look.
Definitely interesting to see how different perspectives and voices.
The documentary you're about to watch is the most important documentary I've ever made. This story is far bigger than Tommy Robinson. This is about the weaponisation and the politicisation of these buildings. Court buildings across the West. The Royal Courts of Justice, ironically named. These buildings have been weaponised and used against members of the public to destroy them if they speak out. From Donald Trump to Steve Bannon to Geert Wilders to Marie Le Pen to Katie Hopkins. That's what's happening. My job as a journalist, I stand for freedom of speech, I stand for freedom of the press. And I failed. Because 3 years ago when I lost a court case in here, and they bankrupted me to the tune of £1.6 million. On a documentary, you're going to see the entire story was a lie, okay? I failed because I should have come out of court and I should have played you that film. Why didn't I play you that film? Because I was given a gagging order by this building, by this judge. I was silenced, and I allowed them to silence me because I was scared. I was scared of 2 years in prison. I was scared of the effect that solitary confinement for that length of time would have on me. I was scared of jihadi gangs in jail, and I was scared of the effect it would have on my family. I failed me and I failed you. I'm not going to fail myself again. You're now going to watch the best citizen journalism and the most incredible expose of the establishment you've ever seen.
Interesting musical choice.
I missed the saxophone.
If you're a regular viewer of our show, you will know that we like some library archive of saxophone to illustrate nocturnal tension.
The news. It's how we find out what's happening in the world. It's how we form our opinions. Opinions based on facts. That's the key. Facts. Facts should be delivered to you by journalists based on the truth. But what if what they're delivering you isn't the truth? What if it's stories that are manipulated to make you think a certain way, to follow a certain narrative, different people's agendas? And what do they do to those who go against that mainstream narrative? Those who try to expose the truth. This is a documentary about the lengths they will go to shut down and silence anyone from bringing you, the British public, the truth.
I lost my job over this.
Non-disclosure agreements.
He's a nasty little piece of shit. Swung the hockey stick over his head and hit me in the spine with it.
I love England, man. It's just nice to be reminded of English people when you don't live there no more. He's a nasty little piece of shit. I just love, like, when I've lived in America for a long period of time, when I come back, it's even if, like, it's just lovely to hear the way British people talk. You fucking wanker! How's it going, you old tosspot?
Where does wanker rank in the, you know, like the C word?
Okay, let's do this cursing league tables of the UK.
The C word is, I know that's...
Okay, your upper echelons of cursing. There's no question that cunt is king when it comes to cursing. In Australia, anyone that's travelled widely will know that the word cunt in Australia is the same as basically
that's hello.
Hello.
Yeah, that's hello.
Like, it's just not even an expletive. But in the UK, it's a curse word. In America, it's extremely rude. I would say next you've got fuck and fuck derivatives like motherfucker. Then you've got your sort of mid-range curse words. You know, shit, piss, bollocks.
You would put piss in the same...
Twat.
You'd put piss in that?
I think piss and shit are the same, don't you
But you
think?
can also take the piss.
Yeah, that's right.
But
I think if you're going to say...
That's different, right?
Wanker being sort of its own kind... Given that it's vernacular and parochial, like, I think it's a separate category. I mean, you couldn't say wanker at school. If you called a teacher at school, you wanker, you're in a lot of trouble. But I think like it's British only. The thing is, with the success of American culture, the fact is that most of your curse words are global.
I think sometimes we're limited in the words we can pull from, you know. So the curse words seem to be like a next level that you could say if I want to add a little more emphasis to it. But wanker is very popular in the Rumble chat.
It's a great, well, it would be, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like, because it comes up as a subject. I have to tell them, stop wanking, you lot. Pack it in the sort of in the literal. There's literal wanker. You got any Hebrew curse words to add?
Benzona.
Benzona. Is that for wanking?
You mean bitch.
Oh.
That sounds like a cream you put on, like, if you're sore.
Yes.
But I actually had a question. In the UK, aren't they allowed to, like, broadcast, like, fuck and shit, like, on the TV, like the BBC or any of these? No? Then why is it
Not
that,
before
like,
the watershed.
Because I've seen
So
a
it's
lot
the
of...
watershed, isn't it, Russell?
What?
We've got a watershed. You don't know about the watershed? Oh, you got to respect the watershed. The watershed, that's 9 p.m. After the watershed, here's the fucking news, you shit cunts. It's like, I mean, like
so
this.
it is. It's a time. It's like...
Yeah, there's a time.
See, in the United States, there is no time. You can't unless you're on, like, HBO subscription.
Yeah, there's Adult Swim. Adult Swim is where, like,
they
at
still
night
bleep it
in
out.
America.
They still bleep it
Oh,
out.
do they?
Yeah, they're not allowed to have, like, the hard expletives, like, only when they release it on streaming or on a subsequent platform, not, like, on the air, because the FCC, like, bans it. They're not allowed to.
Can you imagine how upset Tommy Robinson will be if he's watching this, expecting like a sort of an earnest critique of his work as a documentary maker? And if the British people now that are sort of craving revolution, or at least radical change, and are hoping that we can have a conversation where the British working class and members of other communities can find a way to live harmoniously together, to honour the electorate, to honour the results of the Brexit referendum, to honour the obvious wishes of a significant number of British people to manage migration seriously and sensibly, and then they tune into this thinking Russel Brand, perhaps he's the person that can bring together the old establishment left, this new emergent populism, and highlight leaders in British politics, and they come over here and what we're talking about is Wanker and Watershed Wankers, our new show.
I'd say, to bring it all back around, is if you get rid of that sweet lady, then the UK changes, right? If you don't have that, if she can't say that and you go, man, that's nostalgic.
Yeah.
And you just say everybody needs to look a certain way and not have those moments.
Well, that lady goes, he's a right little piece of shit.
Yeah, you need those. That's like for us in Louisiana, those Cajun ladies, you know, like you need those Cajun ladies.
Yeah. I like them people from Louisiana where you're from that have got some mad accent that, like Pops has it.
Yeah, it's a Cajun. It's a Cajun accent. You need that.
Like that they talk. I don't know what he's saying. I think it was get out of my hospital room. All right, let's crack on with Tommy Robinson.
Hit me in the spine with it.
Well, it's so deadly, isn't it?
This kid was out unconscious already. That's just malicious.
I'm not standing, you're not going, no, because what you're doing, I know what you're doing.
Tommy, I am gonna mince your kids, mate.
We can't make this content without the support of our partners. Here's a quick message from One Now. What if your coffee didn't just wake you up, but actually awakened you to new realms of consciousness? That's what's being promised by 1775 Peaberry. Why are you drinking stinking, jaded, lukewarm, dirty, filthy grey coffee beans when you could be having vibrant, revolutionary coffee like this one? It's an elixir of pure innocence. It's a glorious and awakening drink. Pea berries are the outliers, the lone wolves, the beans that grow solo on the branch. No twins, no compromise, no hangers-on, no hemorrhoids. Just one dense, round, flavour-packed powerhouse that tastes like it's been preparing for this cup its entire life. Let me take a sip of it now. Oh, holy beverage, we salute you. Less than 5% of all beans can become pea berries. They're the Navy SEALs of coffee beans. Some of them just can't take Hell Week. Which basically means your morning brew is rarer than a mainstream journalist telling the truth. Jake Tapper, you must have seen that Joe Biden was old. He was obviously old.
I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
It's grown high in the Bolivian mountains where the air is thin, the vibes are thick, and the beans basically whisper ancient truths to the winds. No acidic afterburn, no synthetic weirdness, and none of the lingering shame that tastes like the hotel minibar after a 3-day bender with all the snow. Hey, I played that guy in a couple of movies. I've lived that film. I was that film. But this coffee doesn't leave you hungover in a feather boa or speaking fluent nonsense. Just bold, smooth, consciousness-activating coffee with clean energy and antioxidants so potent I drank it and remembered 3 of my past lives. Go to 1775coffee.com, use the code BRAND and get 15% off. Peaberry Wonder, Hallucinations, Glory, Psychedelic Wonder, all available here. Use the link, get the discount, get the free shipping, benefit from an awakening bean. You lunatic, you.
This is a documentary about the unholy alliance between the media, the justice system, and our politicians. How they conspire to suppress free speech, how they pervert democracy, and how the truth and your freedoms are just 2 of the casualties. We will show how the mainstream media deceives people, how they ignore the truth, how the lies of the virtue signalling BBC, ITV and Channel 4 are all about their poisonous agenda, no matter the cost to innocent people. It's also a documentary about how an everyday playground incident between 2 young lads was spun into global news at a terrible cost to so many people, not least the 2 young lads themselves. We will show how the law is being abused, how people driven by hateful ideologies attempt to intimidate and silence anyone who dares to challenge the so-called progressive, so-called liberal narrative. We will show the foolishness of our fear-driven political leaders who jumped.
I actually think it's pretty good so far. Like, I think he's a good communicator. This is like a side of Tommy Robinson that I've not seen before when I've seen him on Jordan Peterson and stuff like that. The thing is I feel like a lot of people sense Tommy's got a kind of a febrile, kind of edgy, like lightweight boxer's kind of pugilistic stance and tone to him. But I think he's a good communicator and I think he speaks for a lot of people. What I've always hoped as a person that's lived in areas with a high Muslim population is that there's a way to recognise and reconcile that people of the same economic and social class, regardless of their ideological beliefs and racial backgrounds, can live harmoniously. I would say that's probably within the context of honouring a country's origins. And I'd say that whether you're talking about Japan or Syria or Britain, if a culture is built up, that culture should be honoured, and people that live in that culture should be free to express their own cultural values, except where those cultural values are at odds with the native culture. I would say that if I was going to go and live in Japan, I am a refugee, a migrant, albeit one that's blessed to live in the free state of Florida. So I wonder how this conversation can evolve and unfold. And so far, I think that Tommy Robinson is communicating very well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and chat, though.
Jumped on a story, took a side without knowing the truth. Or worse still, knowing it but hiding it. Because the truth didn't fit their narrative.
Yes, Massey, mate.
Say about his communicating, but like, let's be honest, when it comes to the UK, people don't like the way he communicates. There's a massive class divide in the UK, which he's a working class geezer kind of thing. And people immediately put people like that down. Whenever I speak to anyone about Tommy Robinson, if ever he comes up, they'll always say he's a Nazi, he's a this, he's a that. And I'm like, oh yeah, tell me more. And they can't tell me more. And it all comes down to the way he speaks, the way he behaves.
Yeah, but I would say I agree with you. But I would say that here in this documentary, doing his bit to camera, that this isn't the same as when you see him sometimes on a podcast and he seems a little bit amped up. Now, I in a way, I identify with, if Tommy Robinson feels like he's under attack, he is under attack. This is someone that's been under attack most of his life as he's tried to work out how to express that where he's from in Luton, it seems like there's a hostility between the working class white people and, as he always says, Sikhs and black folk and the Muslim population. Now, like, I've always been sympathetic to British Muslims in particular because I know that whenever communities are turned against one another, both of those communities lose and the establishment benefits. So what my interest is in Tommy Robinson is that he's an authentic working class voice that I believe ought be supported. And even in the areas where I reckon I would disagree with him, I would like to see if there are ways to advance the conversation without getting into jingoism, xenophobia, or other difficult territories. But what I'm mindful of is that perhaps a lot of things I think about Tommy Robinson might have come from the appraisal I've received from watching legacy media and from a lot of people's, as you point out, Massey, biases towards people that speak how he does. If you're an American, you won't be aware of the nuances around class, but our little light-hearted conversation about vernacular slang and cursing earlier is a kind of indication of some of the unique aspects of British cultural life, which is still an old establishment country with a deep, steeped tradition when it comes to power. We have a royal family, we have a king. I don't know if that's a good thing anymore or not when I look at some of the alternatives, but when you look at the American establishment, in some senses, it's a global establishment because American global imperialism is corporate and commercial in nature. And the British establishment has sort of deep, deep roots, deep, deep bloodlines, sort of plant, like Lancashire, Yorkshire, the plant, like there are old families and old ideas and old institutions that are quite difficult, even if you live there, to understand, I suppose, because we grew up in the fog of it. But, you know, what I'm saying is that there's something different about the way he's communicating here to how I see him when he feels like he's under attack, because he is under attack. And I know what that's like because I feel like I've been in the dock for years, you know?
Yeah, I think core values are important to see, like, how would you rank what's important to you? So if fairness is really important to you, then you might go, this guy's not fair or equal. But if authenticity is important to you, then you'd go, I like this guy. So, like, the read that I get from just watching him talk, I go, I like this guy. Whether you believe or agree with everything that he says, you at least know that seems to be authentically who he is.
I reckon increasingly, Jake, that metric will become significant, that you might say, I don't agree with that person, but at least they're telling the truth. At least they're authentic. Like, say someone like in British politics like Jeremy Corbyn, like whether you agree with him or not, he's authentic and he's telling you the truth and he's not just someone who's trying to make a bunch of money out of politics, then there are other figures like Nigel Farage. In a way, we're going to have to see, I think, in the UK in particular, new consortiums, new alliances, new political affiliations, or will continue to yield to what he per-emphasized and sort of verbally italicized words like progressive and liberal, because those words are not about progressing, and they're certainly not about freedom. They're ways of couching a conversation to ensure maximum bureaucratic power and division among the people that could most likely oppose institutional elitism. Let's crack on.
Because the truth didn't fit their narrative, regardless of the human cost. And we'll ask 3 important questions. Firstly, is the media accountable to anyone, in any way, for what they report? Years after the Leveson inquiry, has anything changed, or do they continue to act with impunity?
Listen, we're going to leave YouTube now. Click the link in the description for the rest of this. For over the next couple of weeks, we're watching this documentary in its entirety. Click the link. Join us over on Rumble and get Rumble Premium. It really helps us if you support our work there.
Secondly, is our legal system still fit for purpose? We will show how...
Hello there, you Awakening Wonders. Thanks for joining me for Stay Free with Russel Brand. If you ain't got Rumble Premium yet, get Rumble Premium now. You get additional content from me, and it's a great show today. We're talking about the new pandemic in the UK, the flu one. They're forgetting, though, that they've already used this lie really recently of COVID and masks, and in their reporting, state-funded media like the BBC are tripping over their own feet in error. And we remind you, too, what happened in 2020 when they actually cancelled Christmas. Looking back, just with a half a decade of hindsight, the whole thing looks absurd. It's a real joy. We're talking too about the Ukraine and Zelensky and the way that people are beginning to recognise now that Ukraine was always a pretty corrupt country. That's not a unique attack on Ukraine, certainly not on Ukrainian people, but it's just the government of a country is not the same as the people of a country. Whether you're talking about Israel or the United Kingdom or the United States of America, generally speaking, governments are aligned with and enmeshed in sets of globalist interests and maybe things that are even darker than that. And the people are human beings and children of God and one world family. And Lord, I pray that one day we're able to return this. So we've got Zelensky, we've got COVID, and also the EU versus X. What a battle that's shaping up to be. All of these are deep dive episodes. Let us know what you think in the comment and chat. Sorry I keep spitting. I'm so excited about this thing. I think it's to do with this shirt also. What do you think? Let me know in the comments and chat. This stuff's pretty delicious. Mwah! Give it a go, baby. If you're watching us on Locals, hello, I love you. If you're watching us on Rumble Premium, I couldn't love you anymore. And if you're watching us on X or YouTube or any of those places, get on over to Rumble and join us there. And remember, if you haven't bought any Reborn stuff yet, buy some right now. Every dollar you spend gets you entered into a prize draw to win this beautiful but dangerous Jeep. And so here, without any further ado, here's the first of today's stories. Stay with us. When is the flu not the flu? When we need to control you. Super flu is back. Get in your house. Here's the mainstream media telling you to stop the spread.
It's a bit of a throwback, isn't it? We were used to wearing these a few years ago. Now this is the precaution being taken. Also, people are being told to make sure their hands are clean and that they're not bringing germs into the hospital. We're in the outpatients here.
That's just ridiculous. If in Germany they started dishing out yellow stars again and pink triangles, do you think people might go, wait a minute. Okay, if you want Jews to register for special benefits, here in this place. You might go, we're not fucking doing that again. But when it comes to the mask, don't do it. Don't comply. They're not telling you the truth. Why don't you talk to the many doctors and nurses that regret taking the shot? Why don't you talk to the members of the military that have had to be readmitted after not taking the shot? I know they're not making the claim that this is directly analogous or identical to COVID, but it's similar enough to warrant your cynicism.
At Sunderland Royal, and you can see the campaign is very clear indeed. That's because in the past couple of weeks, they have seen the number of...
That lady just glitched. Was that just me?
They have seen the number of patients with flu here and at their sister...
With flu, not from flu.
Flu here and at their sister hospital triple to 45 patients.
Where's the fucking people in that hospital, by the way? Have you been to an hospital lately? It's like that, just a bunch of screens, dark, depressing, weird. What's happening to our country? What's going on in the UK? Or UCK, as I call it, because it's
That's kind of reflecting the national picture as well, where last week 1,700 patients across England were admitted and they were suffering from flu. That's a 50% rise on this time.
Well, why don't we have a ticker across the bottom of the screen telling us how many people are dying of flu? They've had time to put a Christmas tree up. My God, the UK is crazy and it's in serious trouble, but don't worry, it's going to be okay. We are going to organise some meaningful resistance, whether it's opposing the digital ID, or to getting rid of trial by jury, or any one of any facial recognition, potential war with Russia. I can do a longer list if you want to. It's totally corrupt. You need a new Oliver Cromwell. Not that Oliver Cromwell's behaviour to the Irish wasn't appalling. There's a revolution coming. Let's get into it.
Look, just because the number of patients rising has started earlier doesn't mean this flu season is going to end earlier. And NHS bosses are really quite concerned about the pressure that is going to be put on services, hence those figures coming out later. We also know that in Birmingham, 4 hospitals have declared a critical incident.
Get that mask off. There's no one in there. There's no one else in there. Don't do things for no reason. Don't do things for no reason. Stop bowing down and kowtowing to your false idols of the state. Stop worshipping at the awe of the BBC. You can't trust them. You cannot trust the legacy media. All of these institutions that I would have laid down my life for once, the BBC, the NHS, people did lay down their lives from. Our ancestors laid down their lives from. Not that long ago, less than 100 years ago, members of your family died so that you could have state-funded institutions like the BBC. They raise a tax, don't they, through licenses that's mandatory, so it's a tax, and the NHS, which your taxes pay for. These were beautiful ideas. These were good versions of secular saints. The NHS, a feminine saint that provides care and nurture and love and concern. What a beautiful idea. Totally corrupted, totally disrupted, total chaos, being utilised now to legitimise authoritarianism and government overreach. It's happened before, happened in 2019, and it's happening now. Don't trust them again.
Partly because of the number of flu cases putting those pressures on. And we know that up in the northeast, this isn't the only hospital that has introduced the mask wearing and, of course, that washing of hands that we have been talking about. So the message is, if you're coming into hospitals, please do wash your hands, wear the mask, because then you're going to stop the spread.
Why is the BBC doing that? Why is the BBC saying that? We've already had the signs.
And hopefully reduce the pressure that is being put on services. Look, we know that some people can present with mild symptoms, and bosses here are saying you may have mild symptoms, but if you pass it on to somebody who's vulnerable, that's going to possibly cause more.
Because, the old vulnerable technique, you see? Someone vulnerable. There's always these imaginary vulnerable people that the BBC and the government are protecting. You might be all right. You might be able to run your own life, run your own family, run your own community. You might be strong and connected to God. But what about vulnerable people? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the last people I'm going to trust to look after the vulnerable. It's you lying, corrupt, filthy scum.
So, mask wearing, hand washing, and those figures coming out later today are going to give a true picture of what is going on, but everybody can do their bit to try to prevent the spread of flu, for now at least.
It's inevitable, really. We're all going to get flu. Yeah, flu. So, fucking what? Yeah, well, people will die. Yeah, well, not people will die. Everyone's going to die. Everyone's going to die. How about having some integrity while you're alive? It's not a personal attack on that lady, journalist, whatever she would like to be called. She's got fantastic hair, and when it comes to conditioner, I'd take her advice to the ends of the earth. But when it comes to masks, she's plainly lying, because we've already been on this roundabout. As the familiar health warnings of 2020 begin to dominate once more, fresh scandals rip through the institutions that shaped the pandemic years. So, are we finally seeing the cracks in a system whose hidden incentives may have steered a nation's fate? Or will history repeat herself again? The loudmouth, repetitive bitch. Schools across the UK are falling back into lockdown as a flu outbreak sweeps classrooms, and public health officials urge mask wearing, even though they admitted last time that masks don't work. I know what they'll say. They'll go, oh, well, masks don't work under these circumstances, but they work under these circumstances. Stop the spread, flatten the curve, take the spike, have a jab. It'll be the usual stuff. Public health officials urge mask wearing with the same familiar language that dominated the winter of 2020. Yet the timing's more alarming because 3 major revelations have erupted at once, tearing open the sealed vault of decisions that shaped the pandemic years. The stories breaking in 2025 are the very scandals that were dismissed as paranoia and misinformation or conspiracy in 2020. Let's get into it. First came the disclosures that England's chief medical officer pressured government ethics advisors to stop putting their concerns in writing. That's interesting. The Moral and Ethical Advisory Group, or MEAG, you MEAGs, you can't trust MEAGs, was created to guide ministers through the most difficult trade-offs of the pandemic. Trade-offs? It was meant to ensure that policy never drifted into a moral void. That's the least you can do in it as a government. Are we in a moral void right now? Wait a minute. Wait. Is this a moral void that we've been living in? Yeah, it's a moral void because you killed God and replaced it with, well, Satan, but via dominion, property, profit, stuff like that. But as soon as MEAG raised concerns about lockdown harms, vaccine passports, and the rushed push to vaccinate children, it was pushed aside. Chris Whitty went as far as advising the group to stop putting its recommendations in writing. Don't write any of this down because it might look bad in a couple of years when everyone finds out we were lying. Who remembers the bit when Chris Whitty was jostled by youths? Those youths got pretty punishing sentences as well, as I recall. They just saw Chris Whitty, and this is when I sort of realised that I kind of love dumb culture, is because what happened is like Chris Whitty was like our chief medical officer, and he was like sort of like a bald, like scientist guy. He was not even as charismatic as someone like Fauci, right? He was sort of like a hello, and he looked a bit like he might have sort of an undercurrent of eczema, you know, them people where they've not got eczema, but you could see that they could easily get it, right? He looked like that. And like these lads saw him in a park, like football lads. And because the culture's so stupid now, they just sort of treated him like a celebrity. Hey, Chris Whitty! They sort of like shook him around. It was very funny. It was awful because poor Chris Whitty is a human being. But it's also funny because the culture has used media and semiotics in such a trite and trivializing way, like i.e. everyone tried to turn Fauci into a sort of celebrity. Well, that's what people do. Like, you think I've not had to deal with stuff like that as a famous person, people getting like too fucking hands-on and aggressive. Crazy, man. Members reported feeling sidelined and effectively banned from discussing the pandemic while ministers pushed ahead with unprecedented restrictions. When the group prepared a memo stressing that vaccines for healthy children were invasive, irreversible, and may have long-term side effects. Yes, they were invasive. Yes, irreversible. Everything's irreversible, basically. And long-term side effects, bingo, baby, it was suppressed. A whistleblower said they were told to stop this. Could you stop this? Could you stop raising concerns? It's not like we have a primary duty to not be in a moral void. You shouldn't be in a moral void. Oh, man. MEAG meetings were cancelled when they raised concerns. At the moment when the nation most needed independent scrutiny, it was deliberately shut down. Let me know in the comments and chat why that would be. Why would you shut down independent scrutiny? Because guess what I was doing during the COVID pandemic? I was offering independent scrutiny. It was advised by experts in the same way that you are. Like, I was reading Robert Malone or Peter McCulloch or Jay Bhattacharya or Marty Makary or Robert Kennedy or other people that are subject to attack, even if they're in government at this point. And we were making our own independent assessments. And, you know, we followed the actual science, discourse analysis, clinical trial. And it turns out that we, that collective we, the anti-establishment dissidents, were right. And it turns out that if you do that, they will try and destroy you. So do pay attention. Make sure you mean it. Otherwise, you might not like it when they try and destroy you. Then came two bombshell headlines from legacy outlets that once dismissed skepticism as misinformation. The Atlantic. Yes, some children may have died from COVID shots, they now acknowledge. The Telegraph, who of course reported the stories, Russel Brand rapists, they now admit how COVID vaccines can cause heart damage. Articles like these would have been unimaginable in the media landscape of 2021 when even asking such questions invited smears, bans and professional destruction. Now they read like late confessions from institutions trying to outrun the truth while simultaneously telling you to believe in superflu. We've got the James Gunn version of superflu now. We've reimagined superflu. It's like a Guardians of the Galaxy COVID. It's a fun new COVID. But the most chilling report may be the one showing that 26 members of SAGE, the scientific advisory group whose modelling and counsel shaped every lockdown policy, get ready guys, failed to disclose more than $200 million in grants from the Wellcome Trust. Wellcome, if you didn't know, is one of the world's most powerful medical research funders with deep, let me emphasize that, deep ties to the pharmaceutical sector, and had publicly declared early in the pandemic that drugs, vaccines, and rapid diagnostics were the only exit strategy. Many of the same sage voices that were urging the government towards that path were simultaneously receiving millions in funding from Wellcome. Funding the public was never ever told about. 26 scientists in positions of immense influence shaping politics that affected every citizen, every child, while withholding financial relationships with the very sector that stood to profit from a pharmaceutical-first pandemic response. What a miracle. Pay attention if you're in the UK now that they're trying to get rid of jury trials, they're trying to introduce digital ID, they're trying to get you into a war with Russia. Be disobedient now. Against this backdrop, the flu surge feels almost symbolic, as if the boundary between past and present is collapsing. Yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it? Like time itself is speeding up because the communication of information is so rapid. Think about it. At the advent of the Gutenberg press, the world changed so rapidly. People had access to scripture in a variety of languages. It changed people's relationships with institutional religion. Now, everyone's talking all the time. That doesn't mean there's a lot of nonsense that gets said. Some of the stuff I say, of course, necessarily is nonsense. I'm wrong a bunch. But you can now aggregate information yourself. Take a little bit from over here, take a bit from over here, and as long as the results are don't ever trust the media, don't ever trust the government, you won't go far wrong. During COVID, flu all but vanished. Do you remember that? Do you remember that they stopped talking about flu because they were using flu statistically to bolster the COVID numbers? It was overwhelmed and displaced by a single overwhelming diagnosis. Now, COVID has slipped into the background while flu resurges. They don't believe in COVID anymore, but they might believe in new super flu. Yes, let's try that. Have they traded places depending on what served institutional interests at the time, or were the categories always more fluid than officials admitted? It can only be one. When systems encourage political outcomes rather than clinical clarity, even basic epidemiology becomes a shadow play, doesn't it? That's what's happening. We can't make this content without the support of our partners. Here's a message from one right now. Do you want to support me? No, I don't. Yes, you do. Support me and support Rumble Premium. You won't only be supporting me, you'll get additional access to Mug Club, that's Crowder's gig, Timcast, that's Tim Pool's racket, and Glenn Greenwald's additional content. Join us on Rumble Premium. We make content every single week through Rumble because Rumble support free speech. When I was under attack from the British government and the British media, Rumble stood firm. Yes, of course, there's crazy people on Rumble. There's crazy people everywhere. There's a crazy person living under this hat. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have the right to speak freely together. By supporting Rumble Premium, you're supporting me and content creators like me. You get additional content, and what I will say even more, drink down deep on the delicious irony in this one, you get an ad-free experience. If you want an ad-free experience of Rumble, get Rumble Premium. In the meantime, stay free. Here's Scott Gottlieb, but you could just call him Scott Lieb, save yourself a syllable. A man who looks like a little boy out of the Munsters and talks like a person who worked at the FDA only to go and get a job at Pfizer, because that's what he is.
They're systematically trying to dismantle components of the vaccine approval process and make sure vaccines won't be available. That's in fact what the memo was Friday, and they did it under the pretext of these tragic deaths, which I think is really inappropriate.
We use tragic deaths. Not you. Tragic deaths, right? Do you remember when people would die during COVID and they didn't have a vaccine? They would almost like to drag the corpse out of the coffin and fuck it on the desk of the news. Now, don't you misuse these tragic deaths. We're the ones that misuse tragic deaths. What are you going to use the next? The tragic death of Jesus Christ to say that death can be conquered if you obey certain edicts and laws? Oh, well, don't, because that's what we do.
These deaths in children, if they think there's a causal relationship between the COVID vaccine and those children's deaths, that warrants an exhaustive investigation.
Wonder what Scott Gottlieb does when he's not on the news telling you to take vaccines. He's a board member of Pfizer. Good. Okay, so let's just watch a bit more.
But they tried to slip in announcing that their re-adjudication of that data, which had previously been reviewed very exhaustively by the FDA, they tried to slip in this wholesale remaking of the vaccine approval process for vaccines that have nothing to do with the COVID vaccine.
So what do you do in your spare time? Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm just going to keep using that for context.
Remember, we even approved the HPV vaccine, which is on the cusp of ending cervical cancer on the basis of these immunobridging studies. This has been an important tool for FDA to get new vaccines on the market. I think what they want is no new vaccines on the market. And look, there's some people, I will give them credit, who have been very honest about that. I think the Secretary Kennedy has been very honest about his intentions. I think Prasad, not so much in implementing these policies, hasn't been transparent about the eventual goal of what he's trying to achieve here. But we're at a point right now where there's been such degradation at the FDA. I really worry the wheels are coming off that agency at a real critical time in the biotechnology industry. Look, the tariffs have been settled. Companies, big pharma companies, now have visibility on their cash flows. They're getting back into doing M&A. That's putting a bid under the market. You're seeing the IPO market for biotechnology stocks reopen. You're seeing really stunning data readouts. And so this is really a renaissance period in biotechnology at a point in which we're trying to compete with China, which is really surging their investments in life sciences. And now you have a deliberate effort to degrade the agency. And there's been a lot of departures from that vaccine review division. There's going to be even more. They're going to be at a point where they can announce these policies, and there's literally going to be no one left to implement them at the agency.
Meanwhile, Big Pharma is not retreating. Former FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, who now works for, where does he work? Oh, what it was when he left the FDA, the regulatory body that governs Big Pharma, he went, from now on, I just want to make sure that, you know, children everywhere are helped. So I'm going to do this charity work at schools, man. I'm going to dedicate all my time to making sure that children with conditions like eczema or asthma or nah, not really. He's working for Pfizer. Is already pushing back against reports linking vaccines to child deaths, claiming instead that the FDA is undermining critical components of the vaccine approval system. The conflict of interest is staggering. The defensiveness is yet more so. Taken together, these disclosures paint a picture far darker than incompetence. They suggest a pandemic response shaped by political pressure, undisclosed financial entanglements, strategic suppression of ethical concerns, and a media ecosystem that only now dares to admit what it once helped obscure. The timing's no coincidence. As public trust erodes, these revelations feel less like transparency and more like preemptive damage control. What was once dismissed as fringe concern is now breaking into mainstream coverage, not because institutions have grown more honest, but because the truth can no longer be fully contained. Let me know what you think about that in the comment and chat. The public was told to trust the science, yet the science was shaped by incentives they were never allowed to see. They were told decisions were guided by ethics, yet the ethics advisors were silenced when the confusions became inconvenient. And the people offering the recommendation had financial ties to the pharmaceutical industry. I'll tell you now, I'm following the science right now. Here's what I'm scientifically deducing. Corruption, hypocrisy, lies. Conclusion, revolution. Do you remember at school when you had to do science, you had to go method, aim, all that. We had to write down the little things. Well, plainly now, we are at peak corruption. Now, Britain is repeating old patterns at the very time where the public is waking up to how deeply those patterns were manipulated. Schools are closing again. Mask mandates are creeping back. And the institutions that shaped the last crisis are being exposed for suppressing critical information when it mattered most. Ho, 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 ho. Remember 2020, Christmas time, mistletoe and wine? Let's have a look at what happened in our country, the UK, in Christmas 2020. This is your old friends, the BBC.
Dramatic change of policy. Millions of people across England have been placed under stringent new coronavirus restrictions for the festive season. Boris Johnson made the announcement today after scientists said a mutation of COVID-19 was spreading rapidly.
The mutation, yeah. It's mutated, bloody thing. It's like a film where there's a mutation, like that. X-Men. It's X-Men COVID.
In London, the southeast and east of England. The variant is said to be much more contagious, but doesn't cause more.
Look how he's talking to you. Look at how he's talking to you. For a minute, just watch and look at the tone. Listen, I'm not blaming the individual gentleman. I'm sure he's a delight. Although we have learned that, for example, Hugh Edwards, a very prominent BBC news broadcaster, has, I think, recently been convicted of pedophilia. But don't let that bother you.
Doesn't cause more serious illness. Wales and Scotland tonight have also tightened their coronavirus rules.
But the BBC hasn't tightened its paedophilia rules. We keep having a mysteriously high number of paedophiles working for us.
From midnight tonight, new Tier 4 restrictions come into force.
What they need is tiers for paedophiles working for them. Like, right, we're allowed this many paedophiles. Could we just have a couple more paedophiles? No, that's the absolute maximum. Maybe in some of your local news offices, you can sneak in a few extra paedophiles.
In London, the southeast and east of England, more than 17 million people are affected. The public is being asked to stay at home, and there will be no so-called Christmas bubbles for gatherings.
Have you forgotten how mad it was? There will be no Christmas bubbles for gathering. What the fuck are you talking about? Who are you? Who are you all? Well, you're going to have to be in a Christmas bubble. Well, what? Hold on. What's Christmas about? Oh, well, what it was God came to earth in the form of a baby through the Immaculate Conception to prove that here on the carnal plane, you can achieve divinity and operate on the level of universal good. Thanks. So what do you want us to do? Get in a Christmas bubble. Whoa. And a lot of these people won't believe in that. A lot of them will go, you can't believe in Jesus? That's made up. Now get in your fucking Christmas bubble. Listen, if we're making stuff up, how about we make up something that empowers us, that believes that you are beautiful, that you're vital, that there are things that are more important than the appeasement and appeal of the senses, that there is glory. That all sounds good, but it might burst your Christmas bubble.
Get-togethers will be restricted to meeting one other person in an open public space.
That is the level of control that they're aiming at. It's brilliant to watch this again. It's brilliant. You can meet one person in a public place. All they have to do now they've established some principles. Now all they have to do is convince you that the conditions exist that legitimize it, i.e. a war with Russia, some sort of terrible financial crash. I don't know. My imagination is not as dark as theirs, and I've got a pretty dark imagination, baby. They'll think of something that legitimizes this happening again. That's what they'll do. They'll just keep thinking of it. Right, you've got to get in your Christmas bubble, get in your Easter cube, get in your Pentecost triangle, get into your satanic worship, state-funded, evil, nefarious systems. Put your hand up like this, bow down at the altar of Moloch. Merry, merry Satanmas.
Shops will close, as well as gyms, beauty salons and hairdressers.
Who decides what's non-essential business? Who decides?
For those living in tiers 1 to 3 in England...
See, bureaucracy. It's beautiful. They bureaucratised everything. Look at that coronavirus in the corner like a little sunshine. Look at that bit in the corner, not the corner of the square, the outer periphery of the circumference there, like a little bowling ball. That's the spike protein. The virus itself was a construct. The pandemic response was a construct. The reporting on it was a construct. The measures undertaken were a construct. You're living in a counterfeit reality. And the very people that tell you that Christ ain't real and it's a fairy story for children will tell you that it's time to get in your Christmas bubble and bow down at the altar of their peculiar bureaucracies. Do you detect the hypocrisy? Do you see that what they're creating is an illusory reality for you to inhabit?
Christmas bubble gatherings can only take place on Christmas Day.
They're trying to normalise the phrase Christmas bubbles.
Christmas plans have to be dropped, and a third of the population is back under limited lockdown in less than 2 hours.
Look at the level of concern and consternation that went into this period. Look at how they're talking. Now, think about you. You're a person. You live in the UK, right? Or wherever you live. How many people do you know that died of flat-out COVID that wasn't either comorbid, like super obese, heart conditions, or extremely old? We know in retrospect that excess deaths have increased in the subsequent period. More people are dying now than died during COVID. That whole time was full of deception and lies. You can prove it if you pay attention. Their primary technique to prevent you from making these realizations is to distract you and bombard you and bedazzle you continually. You are overstimulated. All they have to do to prevent you from awakening up to the revolutionary state that this would induce in the sanest, most rational person is bewilder and distract you the whole time. I thought you'd be able to say, look, I know all these people that died from COVID. Now, I know there's that wall opposite, peculiarly, the Houses of Parliament, where there's always this spontaneous tribute to those that died of COVID, a graffiti wall of hearts for every person. Like, if you go through and investigate it, go through every single one and say, right, well, that person, how old were they? Did they have any other conditions? All right. Then ask yourself this. Is it worth giving up your freedom for? Is it worth giving up your freedom? What's a war? I mean, they're about to conscript you in the UK for a war against Russia. What are they going to say to you then? What are they going to say to you? Right, we're going to have a war with Russia. Okay, well, why? And for who benefits? Loads of questions, but okay, we're having a war with Russia. What do you want us to do again? What is it? We want you to go on, keep talking, sign up for, the army, and what might happen? Fight, and what might happen in the fight? Death. And why? Because there's something more important than life. And who decides what that is? We do. Interesting.
It is with a very heavy heart, I must tell you.
Your heart's probably heavy because you've got myocarditis because you kept getting those fucking vaccines, you moron.
We cannot continue with Christmas as planned. In England, those living in Tier 4 areas should not mix with anyone outside their own household at Christmas.
Their own household. Members of the actual government were having affairs with people from other households. They were putting their genitals in other people's bodies. That's minus distance.
Though support bubbles will remain in place.
Do you see how like the language of emojis has invaded ordinary discourse? Hands, face, space, repeat after me. Hands, face, space, repeat after me. Into the internment camp, clap along. Here's your digital ID. Eventually they'll coach you into such rhythmic childishness, such a facsimile of innocence that you won't be able to think or identify reality. Look at the traffic lights. If it's red, stay inside. If it's amber, you can look out your window. If it's green, we're coming to your house to castrate you.
For those at particular risk of loneliness or isolation.
Everyone's at risk of loneliness and isolation. That's what a human being is. You are at risk of loneliness and isolation because you're in infinite space and you're being governed by the devil.
We have a particularly fast-moving...
Sir Patrick Vallance, how'd you get that knighthood, mate? Who give you that knighthood?
...problem with increased numbers in the area going to Tier 4, but a generalised increase across the country.
The sort of combination of Boris Johnson's entitled certainty and the kind of rational academic confidence of that fella. We're getting Tier 4. It's all made up. It's all made up. None of it was real. It was a pack of lies. Oh yeah, but didn't they do an inquiry? Yeah, in the inquiry, did they ask questions about Rishi Sunak's relationship with Moderna? Did they ask questions about Moderna's new subsequent vaccine contracts? Did they ask any questions about the inception, conception and manufacture of the virus itself? Did they ask questions about the way that deaths were logged and registered? Where's the data? In our conversation with Dr. John Campbell, he revealed that the UK government are refusing to release the statistics about the number of people that have died from vaccine injury. Why? To protect you. It's to protect you because of your anonymity. Oh, you're still helping me. Wow, you guys are going to help us right the way into the prison and right the way into the grave, aren't you?
On Wednesday, you told me and our viewers it would be inhuman to change the plans. And now that's exactly what you've done. Aren't the millions of people whose plans have just been torn up entitled to feel that you just left this too late?
We, of course, bitterly regret the...
What about this? Listen, I've got an update for you. I'm the news now. Don't listen to them, don't trust them, and don't do what they tell you. And wait for the opportunity for that to happen and make sure you're ready for that. Just make sure that when they tell you stuff, just go, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to comply. You aren't in control of me. I have a direct relationship with God. I am matter infused by spirit somehow. Somehow I can, through my thoughts, control my cortex and my anatomy. And maybe one day we will be able to control more than that. I believe in glory. I believe in God. I believe in the resurrection of Christ Jesus. So if you want me to do something, you're going to have to kill me. Are you all right with that? Because I am. Here's the weather.
The changes that are necessary, but alas, when the facts change, you have to change your approach.
Hey, if you're watching us on YouTube, we're just going to be with you for a few more seconds. Click the link in the description. Get on over and enjoy the next story. We're talking about Ukraine. We're talking about Elon. We're talking about COVID. It's brilliant. It's revelatory. It's magnificent. Click the link. Get off that globalist scam and into the sweet arms of Rumble, baby.
Professor Whitty, if someone is packing a bag right now, listening to or watching this, trying to leave the southeast by midnight tonight, what should they do?
My short answer would be, please unpack it at this stage.
Awakening Wonders, thanks for joining me today for Stay Free with Russell Brand. Thank you, Tim Poole and Tim Cast, for the raid. Thank you, Crowder and Mug Club, and you glorious overspill from Bongino's Army. Thanks for joining us. Wherever you're watching, X or YouTube, make your way to Rumble. That's our home and indeed the home of free speech itself. And if you don't have Rumble Premium yet, get Rumble Premium now so you can get additional content from us, an additional hour each week, as well as an ad-free experience as smooth and as lubricated located as one of Keir Starmer's cabinet when they're hanging around a lollipop van. Oh yeah, baby. Them are some smooth and lubricated politicians running the UK right now. You only need to look at the news to see that the prison planet penitentiary that is the UK is a theme park, and the theme is absolute control. Today we're going to be covering some of the great stories from the week. Callie Means on the front line talking about RFK at Politico as the mainstream media tries to impose old school ideas on new emerging Maha-oriented health edicts. We're going to be talking too about war, whether or not we have been delivered to in the manner promised during the campaign by the MAGA Maha Trump movement. We're also going to be talking about a whole variety of stuff. Sam Harris talks about Elon Musk. We're talking about that. And another day, another tariff. Oh my God, I'm still. How many more tariffs?
Noah! Larry, what the hell are you doing?
Larry!
Larry, you can't just. Oh,
Larry! Oh, are you all right? How did
Larry!
Wherever you're watching us, X, YouTube, make your way over to Rumble, get Rumble Premium, or we will tariff you. So, in fact, Rumble Premium amounts to a tariff. I'm joined today by our team here, Jake and Isaac, over there with their very distinct faiths, contributing marginally more than the ape depicted on the wall behind him. Also, we have our social media manager, Luke, who's a man of great faith. Look at him. Look at his ways he's arranged his environment. Isn't he lovely? And Massey there, probably a bit too close to his camera. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. The tariffs. I mean, have we frozen tariffs now? Are tariffs at the same level? I don't know.
China. We need independence.
Yep. And what's your message to? Have you seen Donald Trump? Do you think he should step in?
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
That's some good stuff. That's got to be in Hong Kong, right? I love that reporter. That dude, he works at like Rebel News, don't he? You watched him trouble people at Davos. He ain't playing. That dude, he's Australian. He ain't scared. He gets right up in people's faces. Okay, let's have a look at Trump's fans trolling leftists wearing Make America Gay Again hat. And actually, you know, people be gay. Make America gay. Elbow me now.
I like your MAGA hat. Yeah, Trump. Woo!
It says gay.
Oh, I know.
Just checking.
Trump fan.
Never know.
Trump?
No. It says make America gay again.
Great again.
Gay.
I know, but we love Trump, right?
There you go. The culture war continues. Kill them. I got the mic in my Lego, baby. Mute the mics, Isaac, until needed. Thank you, darling. Although I'm glad that people are laughing. Okay, let's have a look what's going on. I need more information on this number 4.
Who we are. So we tell them.
So we tell them.
We are the union.
We are the union.
All right.
We can't really get behind that, can you? Federal employees are showing up not to work but to protest returning to work.
It even goes further than that, Maria. Things as outrageous as trying to get workers back into the office. We actually had workers that showed up at the office to protest having to come back to work at the office. So we're finding all kinds of things with the
I only came here to get directions for how to get away from here.
With the Doge work, the squeal work that I have done for 10 years. And thank heavens we have President Trump and Doge, the Office of Government Efficiency, that's finally cracking down on these types of activities.
The United Kingdom has become a theme park, and the theme of that park is absolute control. There's nothing they won't leverage to deploy more mechanics of control. Now they want digital IDs, they want centralized currencies, they want you to stay in your home. All the while, there's some extraordinary private lives going on inside Westminster. As you know, one of Keir Starmer's close friends has been arrested on suspicion of paedophilia. Innocent until proven guilty. Sometimes I think that's a phrase that needs to be brought to the very forefront of everyone's mind. But right now, UK facial recognition is being rolled out in the British town Welsh, particularly of Cardiff. Let's have a look at that.
Just got to train at Cardiff Central, and we saw police putting up signs to warn people live facial recognition is going up all around Cardiff city centre today. Live facial recognition is usually deployed on the back of vans, scanning people walking down the street. but this time South Wales Police have put it on the top of loads of lampposts, cameras all around the city centre, mean that everyone in Cardiff city centre today is going to get scanned by these cameras and their face checked against the watch list. Part of the facial recognition, or just hanging around?
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, is it working?
Yeah.
Any arrests?
No trouble at all.
Seems quite calm. That's great.
Rugby is always very good. Very elegant.
Now, let me know in the comments and chat if you are pleased, excited, or disappointed and concerned since Trump took office. Is this the government you voted for when it comes to subjects as important as global peace, brokering for war, whether it comes to the reckoning that ought to be faced by the pharmaceutical industry, big food and big agriculture? I would argue that in that area, at least, there is progress, all because of the list of names that I mentioned continually on the show. Bobby Kennedy, Dr. Oz, Callie Means is among them, Aaron, Siri, and of course Jay Bhattacharya and Marty Makari, all who have high-profile jobs one way or another, or significant influence within the aspect of American life that's so important. Health, both psychological and spiritual, based on nutritional, good food practices and not taking medicine that could fundamentally, well, kill you. This is a conversation that took place at a Politico event. Politico, as you know, used to be funded by the same groups that fund Wall Street Journal. And I don't know how much Politico is still in the Hocker legacy media, but certainly Callie Means gets a lot of pushback when he advocates for Bobby Kennedy's new mandate within the HHS. Let's have a deep dive into that. We'll be back in a minute and we'll be talking about all manner of things, including trans sports. John Oliver advocates for more, sort of trans sports folks. We'll be analysing that. Let me know what you think, by the way, in the comments and chat. On the very day that there was a pool tournament in the UK, my beloved country, now a penitentiary island where people are jailed for social media posts, unless, of course, they're government paedophiles, then they seem to get extraordinary largesse. What's going on lately there is that there's a female pool tournament where both the finalists were trans men. Let me know in the comments and chat what you think about that. Also, like, pool, like, it ain't strength or speed oriented. There's no advantage actually to testosterone there. Anyway, we'll work it all out. Let's have a look at Callie Means at this Politico event. It's really good because Callie Means is one of the people that helped me to understand that we're essentially fed en masse a bunch of foods that are essentially toxic and poisonous. Seed oils, high fructose, sucrose, terrible dyes, all that stuff that we're familiar with now thanks to the Maha movement. And let's not forget for a moment that Bobby Kennedy was more outspoken than anyone when it came to talking about the pandemic, when it came to talking about Anthony Fauci, when it came to talk about bioweapons, lab leaks, deep state involvement, and the control of a global population that took place in that pandemic period. Here, Callie Means advocates for him quite brilliantly. You are going to love this. Let's have a look.
No, here's the fucking news.
Oh no! Breakfast cereal is poisonous! Oh no! People that make food and medicine benefit from us being ill. That actually makes sense economically. If you make medicine, you want people sick. Huh. Callie Means has long been a friend of our show, and he's one of the reasons that I believe that the HHS will improve significantly under Bobby Kennedy. Callie Means is a former employee of Coca-Cola turned whistleblower and now expert in nutrition, but not only what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat, what we should put in our mouths and what we shouldn't put in our mouths, but what we should allow into our consciousness. Here is Callie Means appearing at a Politico conference. Remember that Politico is funded in all sorts of interesting and extraordinary ways, where he's given the opportunity to oppose some people that query not only his perspectives, but the Maha movement more generally. And I suppose if I was to define the Maha movement, it's if MAGA is Donald Trump and the kind of libertarian, free market, America first kind of no-nonsense robustness that Trump represents, then Maha is Bobby Kennedy, health, wellness, anti-corruption, trying to awaken and enlighten yourself and others. That's why I was so excited personally about MAGA and Maha coming together. Here in this clip, Callie Means defends the Maha movement from many of its detractors. Let's watch it together.
What the voters are trying to say, and I think they were right, is that the system is really on the wrong track. That the existing health authorities just demonstrably, the NIH oversaw, and this is just consensus at this point, the literal creation of a pandemic.
Don't that excite you to see that getting said publicly by an employee of the HHS and therefore of your American government, that the pandemic was literally a creation? Doesn't that seem like a massive evolution? Doesn't that seem significant to you? A significant change in the public discourse from the kind of sort of dumb and infantilized, save a life, wash your hands, wear a mask. Now is people that are significant and influential in government saying it was a creation. And in fact, I can't think of anyone more peripheral and radical when it comes to that issue than Bobby Kennedy. These people now are in a genuine position of power. So whatever the MAGA Trump administration isn't at the moment, it's certainly a massive advance on the kind of inoculated and ridiculous materialism and imperialism that preceded it.
The NIH, whose goal is to promote American health, has overseen a devastation, just an abject devastation in American health over the past 20 years, with disease rates skyrocketing in America, leading the world of almost every single chronic disease, with rates of nearly every single chronic disease being at an all-time high among kids. There's been very little innovation with small pharma, with innovative therapeutics at the FDA. It costs $1 billion to get through the process. CMS is an agency that's much larger budget than Defense Department, that's controlled by the American Medical Association, which is a pharmaceutical lobbying group and is almost predominantly sick care. So there's real problems. And when you turn on CNBC, it's just a nonstop. It's a nonstop infomercial for pharma. It's a Sky Rizzy commercial followed by Scott Gottlieb saying how Bobby's killing people, followed by a breathless coverage of the measles outbreak and no mention of the mental health crisis.
How does cutting a bunch of HHS solve that problem?
It is insane. It is insane for you to insinuate that the thing standing between us and better health is more government bureaucrats. Like that's demonstrably
That's not what I'm insinuating.
That is what everyone's saying. It is absolutely insane to insinuate that it's some crime.
It's not all bureaucrats. It's a lot of scientists. It's researchers. It's people who are making sure that
those scientists fundamentally have overseen, just demonstrably, a record of utter failure.
Well, and that is the kind of science that you can follow, isn't it? What are the results of their scientific endeavour? What clinical trials were the NIH funding? What clinical trials were they not? Here's a couple of examples. What kind of vaccine trials are undertaken? Why is it that only now, under Bobby Kennedy, there are going to be clinical trials, significant clinical trials, into any connection between childhood autism and the childhood vaccine schedule? It doesn't hurt to ask those questions. Remember, if you have a principled belief in a scientific theory, then the way to demonstrate it is through clinical trial, through empiricism. Then it's no longer a theory, it's cast iron facts. Now let's look at the facts of the pandemic era, which has brought about to some degree this new political era. We were misled by the media. Why would they do that? Is it connected to their commercial relationships? Is it to do with their ownership models? Is it to do with the kind of convergence of interests that George Carlin articulately described? That the government, global bureaucracies and global corporate entities have the same general agenda.
You don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. These people went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're in the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them.
I.e., populations that are docile, malleable, despondent and controllable, looking to resolve emotional and spiritual problems through commercial means, certainly not vibrant, vital and opposed to hypocrisy and corruption, willing to take control of their own lives and their own communities, to kill and die for what they believe in, kill only when absolutely necessary, obviously, but to die for what you believe in. That's not the kind of population that the system benefits from, and it's not the kind of perspective they've created through their culture. What we have now is the opportunity to take back the control and reins of our own lives, individually, collectively, internationally, and indeed globally, by embracing a spiritual power that's accessible and available to all of us, that I have found through Christ Jesus, and as far as I know, that's the only way. You might have different ways of accessing it. It's interesting to me that many of the people involved in this movement are also Christian. Let me know what you think about that in the comments and the chat. But when it comes to the subject of science, we can see the success of previous administrations by measuring the facts. And it seems that when it comes to food, when it comes to drugs, when it comes to agriculture, they were not basing their behaviour, practice and regulations on what's best for American people, but what's best for sets of corporate, commercial and essentially global interests. Difficult to argue with that when you look at the record. Do you agree?
It would be insane. Is that funny? Not true. Is that not true? I'd love to hear how, so what metrics would you guys point to for how the scientific community, how the 4 times more per capita on healthcare spending that we spend in America versus other countries has produced innovation.
Well, this is good. I like seeing Cali Means in this mode. Cali Means in battle mode.
Has there been one single chronic disease medication in modern American history that has lowered rates of the chronic disease? It is appropriate that the American Academy of Pediatrics right now, which is 90% funded by pharma.
That's the wrong shot to go to, by the way, that jib shot, just sort of looming. Get close on Cali. Get the cutaway of the guy in the crowd.
Is pushing Ozempic on 6-year-olds.
So Kelly,
that is what the medical authorities are doing.
Why not then use the power that you guys have to push the existing infrastructure in that direction instead of slashing it altogether?
It's not slashing. It's taking it back to 2017 levels. That's not slashing. The amount of bureaucrats.
More like 2002 levels, actually.
In many cases, it's actually just not that much. But it is cutting. What is it? 20,000 people. It's taking it back to. It's taking the HHS back to 68,000 employees. It is absolutely like the idea that Bobby Kennedy should not come in and make dramatic changes to the leadership and the personnel at these authorities that have overseen an abject devastation of American health, which the lobbyists in this room do not have the humility to admit that we have gone completely wrong. The lobbyists in this room laughing when we have the sickest children in the developed world. If that is your attitude, and your attitude is to tell the Maha moms that their votes and their voice is not legitimate, that we need dramatic changes to American healthcare, if you think it is illegitimate for Bobby Kennedy to not make big changes to people like Peter Marks, who once again and again went against FDA advisory opinions, who fired the two top vaccine makers, the two top vaccine scientists at the FDA for suggesting that we shouldn't mandate COVID shots for soldiers.
Now, in 2025, do you believe that they should have mandated COVID shots for soldiers, for nurses, looking at the rise of heart disease and turbo cancers and a variety of other conditions? Do you think it should be mandated now that you know what you know about who it is that's likely to suffer or even die as a result of the coronavirus? Do you believe it should be mandated? And wasn't there indeed then a significant requirement for radical change, the kind of radical changes that Bobby Kennedy appears to be bringing about within the HHS? Would you agree?
Who continually went against expert opinion in favor of the pharmaceutical industry, who many people here were collaborating with him with. The fact that somebody like that can't be fired and he can't install tremendous people like Marty McCary and Jay Bhattacharya and Dr. Oz to start reforming these agencies and put in their people, of course he should do that. That's what people voted for.
There you go, democracy in action. As I've told you before, I know Marty McCary, Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Oz, and I would say that to varying degrees, all of those people I either know well personally or have studied their work and what they talk about publicly. We couldn't be in a better position, when I say we, I mean the people of America, than with those people in charge of our health, certainly under Bobby Kennedy. When you look at what preceded it and the fact that Anthony Fauci's still out there peddling treachery and looking at ways that he can, through his public life, advance the interests of the pharmaceutical industry and continue to ensure that people are spiritually sick and operating on a low frequency. We are in a much better and improved situation with Bobby Kennedy, Dr. Oz, Jay Bhattacharya, Cali Means himself, and Marty McCary in positions of power. These are principled men who are telling you exactly what they believe, and now what they believe will be clinically tested through scientific trials before enacted as policy. That seems to me to be a radical upgrade on what preceded it. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and the chat.
No, here's the fucking news.
We can't make this content without the support of our partners. Here's a quick message from one now. 1775, delicious coffee. This is new longevity coffee. The benefits of coffee, the buzz, the fun, the loose stools. And now you live for sweet lady eternity. Why not? Rumble just launched the first anti-aging coffee. And no, it's not brewed in Fauci's lab. That stinking stuff. Stop using gain of function. What if a virus was created that made your dick fall off? Let's invent one and then a vaccine for it. No, just stop doing it. Stop doing that stuff. This will make you younger without the side effects of, Wuhan. This is not made in Wuhan. Clan, yes. Lab, no. 1775 dropped 1,000 longevity bundles. Most of them were sold in seconds after freedom-loving folk like you rushed in. It was like it was the toilet paper of 2020. Remember those days, kids? They extended for sale and have added a few more. Now it's the final push. I don't like having final push so close to the word of toilet paper. Next you start thinking like... The lip curler. Once it's gone, it's gone. Like your trust in the FDA before the great Marty Makari took the reins. For $99, you're getting $250 in value. And essentially, you're stealing $51? I'm not good at maths. 2 bags of longevity coffee infused with CA-AKG to support cellular health and reduce biological age. Yes, they're selling biological age tests soon, so you can prove to your mates you're biologically younger than your vegan cousin Chad. To hell with you, Chad. Plus, an ultra-rare peaberry roast. Dopey, just grow up. That makes up less than 5% of global crops. Kind of like honest politicians. We've only got Bobby. It's all single origin, small farm, small batch, and scores over 85. No bitter burnout, no sugary sludge, no mystery flavours cooked up in a corporate lab. Just clean, bold coffee that actually tastes like coffee and makes you younger. Take that, Chuck Norris. Every dollar you spend gets you 1 entry to win the old Cybertruck. We're still pushing that thing. And $30,000 of cash. That's 99 entries locked in. And with less than a month left, this bundle guarantees you a real shot. Head to 1775coffee.com/brand and grab yours before the last bundle's gone. Fuel up, live long, and start your morning with coffee that stands for something. Go to 1775coffee.com/brand. Let's live forever, baby. Okay, wherever you're watching this, X or YouTube, ultimately, we want you to join us on Rumble. Thanks for the raid, Tim Paul. Thank you, Mug Club. Thank you, Bongino Army, Bongino Army, Bongino Army. We're leaving you, YouTube. We can't stay there for another second, not while you continue to bow down and kowtow to globalist agendas and decrees, particularly when it comes to attacking some poor old adorable fool just like me. Remonetize the content. I don't even keep this stuff. I've got a minimum guarantee. No, you don't need to know about my financial affairs. All you can know is I can afford this shit. I can afford it. That's all you need to know about me. Okay, we'll be back in a matter of seconds. In fact, we're going to continue right now with some